Good evening. I read a post on a firefighter website in Canada, and they were talking about the firefighter, the prison guards in West Virginia doing the Nazi salute. Now I've read into it. Give you a little background. It was a academy class that was graduating. They all did Nazi salute. And I guess they were trying to like qualify it or something to say that, well, it wasn't the people, it was it turned out it was an academy staff. It was a woman, I'm sorry, that wanted them to do that. And they kept saying she was hard and she was tough. And from what I understand, a lot of them didn't want to do it, and it took several pictures because they didn't want to do it. And I want to go into that for a second with you. For one thing, this is another reminder with law enforcement. They're not better than the rest of society. When I was raised, when I was growing up, they were like, they're not a higher standard. I was raised to believe that. They're not. This is another example of that. Because if you're really willing to do the Nazi salute in a class picture like that, then they're saying now there were like pictures taken in the academy where they were doing that. This is a bunch of pictures of them doing this, and people in the academy knew about it and did nothing about it, and were okay with it. That tells me that there's a judgment question. There's a judgment problem with West Virginia. And one thing I want to say this. A lot of my videos are really to break down straw men put forward by the right. Like I've told you before about how Alex Jones will do 20-minute videos about cross-dressers and men running around in dresses, men that I guess are gender dysmorphic or whatever. And he'll be like, oh, well, they're gay. They're trying to turn our kids gay. And he'll do like a 20-minute video, 20-minute sketch on that. But he won't talk about all the transgender black women being murdered. The few of them in Dallas. One of them was in Dallas. He won't talk about that. This is hate. This is anti-trans hate. It's not intended to be, well, they're acting improperly. No, this is hate. And this is just designed. Sorry. I knew that was coming. This is just designed to dehumanize them, to make it to where all these guys, all homosexual like this. This is hate. Period. This hate. It can never be any more than hate. That's what InfoWars is. Because if you cared, then you talk about that. But you won't, because that humanized them. The fact that they have people trying to murder them, you would talk about that. But you won't. So this is dangerous stuff. And then they had lying, so they didn't know what the Nazi salute was. You're a goddamn liar. See, that's why I say to you, it's almost as though they tried to kind of like qualify it. But in doing so, which a lot of white folk do, they try to justify, but then in doing so, they make it worse. It would be one thing if you had a few kids in the class that were doing this and, like a little sneaky shit. You had an academy instructor directing people to do a Nazi salute and had pictures of that. And there were multiple pictures taken because they wouldn't all do it. Let me ask you a question. This makes me think that if I was in that academy and I said, listen, guys, this is your last test. I got a young girl in here. I got a preteen young girl. I want y'all to rape her. I want y'all to rough her up. There are some men in that class that would do it. Yes, that's what that tells me. There's some men in that class that if asked to do so would do. And we already know these crackers already had that racist shit inside them anyway. That's already there. That's already manifest. We already know that. This just brings it out. Right? That's already there. It's sick, man. It's really sick. This is really sick that we're even talking about this in 2019. They want to talk about the left and drag queens and all this. The right has it's all about hate. I don't hate those guys for doing that. They shouldn't be law enforcement. They shouldn't be working in no prison. But I don't hate them for doing that. And I'm not trying to dehumanized. I'm trying to get to the crux of why they would feel so comfortable to do that in the academy folk. This isn't like years ago where they would like find them somewhere. And then one thing a lot of law enforcement does now, they're like, well, be careful what you put on social media. No, just don't be a fucking racist or a fucking Nazi, and you'll be okay. It's like some of this police training, I think it's like training them to be human beings. Like, don't take pictures of bodies while you're giving a thumbs up. That's what one of them did. Don't play with bodies. Don't, this is like, you have to be trained to know this. Like, nobody raised you to, but you want to talk about the left and millennials and all that when you're looking at shit like this. This is dangerous, man. This is really and it shows you that when you deal with these areas, and we all know West Virginia's got counties that are just completely white to this day. We know that exists. This shows you that the danger of that. I'm surprised they weren't like doing the Trump stuff. Is it worse? Like I said, it just reminds me that they're not better than us. That the idea of law enforcement walking a higher path, I don't see it. Maybe it does. I don't see it. I see a bunch of guys running around with badges on and guns and stuff that brutalize people and abuse their powers and get away with it. See, it's what people don't realize when I talk about these things. I'm not just talking about individual officers that commit crimes. I'm talking about when you have these cases where supervisors tell people to use brutality, to arrest black people for crimes they didn't commit. When you have supervisors telling them they know they're being recorded and to be racist anyway. This is what I'm talking about. And if you're on the right and you want to be taken legitimately, you would speak about this too. It's amazing to me. And I've talked when a lot of things happen with Trump, I go to foreign media. I don't really care what people in America think. Because you're either like me and you're like, whoa, and you've been on my side for probably a year now, 6 months, maybe more than that, at least a year. Or you're a stooge. You're part of the Trump cult. Or you're just some idiot that wants to go home and watch football and eat fried chicken. Not talking about you. Don't care about you. I don't even follow American media too often. But the fact that Canadian firefighters did not 2 posts talking about that on a huge, like it's a well-known blog, that tells you, like, they recognize that's not okay. And it also goes back to what I talk about. I've talked about this in the past, that with Trump, there's how can I put it? I want to put it the right way. There's an acceptance of his actions. There's a legitimization of his actions that we're under shock fatigue. Trump's done so much shit that if he does a speech, he doesn't go off prompter and start talking about racist, stupid shit, people think it's a good speech. That's what I say about Trump, is that if he wants to idiot, he could have got a lot more. I mean, it's terrifying to think about. He could have got a lot more done. Oh yeah, if he had said certain things and kept his mouth closed shut certain times, he'd have a lot behind him. Because honestly, a lot of white folks in this country go along with that. There's a lot of white people that like to walk. There's a lot of white people that believe in cutting food stamps, cutting all that stuff. It's a lot of white folks here. And like I said about Bob, not so much specifically. They like the idea of what Trump represents, which is white supremacy, making fun of climate change, making fun of gay, making fun of retarded people, they like that. There's a lot of guys that they look at Trump, they're like, yeah, the white man's back in charge. That's what I'm talking about. If he wasn't such a liar, such an idiot, he could have really used those. And that's why like Bob stopped paying attention, because they know that. They know Trump's a liar. They may like him, they're not an idiot. That's what I've seen a lot of Trump supporters is they don't really follow him. Like, I follow Bernie Sanders. I listen to some of the stuff he talks about. I don't listen to everything he talks about, but I know what he's talking about. I know the issues he's speaking about. Trump supporters don't. It's like the Trump hat is like an identity. It's kind of like people in Vietnam, when they come back, they would wear like their medals on their civilian clothes after they got the military. Same thing. That's an identity. I'm not in the military anymore, but I'm this. I represent that. I represent America and the church and the white family, and you represent that. You see? They're trying to prove something. It isn't about one or two things specifically. It's, yeah. So, but one of those things. I really, I think it's disgusting. I think it's perverted that we're even, like I said, we're still talking about this idea that Trump would legitimize war crimes and threaten to attack cultural sites, commit war crimes. But we have to look at the small battles too, and this shows you that the institutions are sick, and other folks in the academy knew about it and did nothing. That's a problem. That's a real problem. Be sure.